No. Let's try this.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society.
You're in violation of secure communication procedures, Condor.
So we just went ahead and fixed the glitch.
There is no America. There is no democracy.
Our fifth objective, a new world order.
There are no nations. There are no peoples. There are no Russians. There are no Arabs. There are no third worlds. There is no West.
Right-wing conspiracy.
What do you call it when the assassins accuse the assassin?
A new world order.
Thank you for plugging in to the Stones Unturned podcast.
Well, just a second there, Professor. We fixed the glitch.
I'm your host, Professor Thomas Henry Horan.
He reads everything.
Hello there, you lucky devils. You better bet your bippies he reads everything. I am Professor Thomas Henry Horan, welcoming you. Hi, Creepy Crawl. You're going to get... Tonight you get yours. Tonight you get yours. Hi, Anthony. 0 drop frames. Okay. This episode will be a hodgepodge. Bits and pizzas, flotsam and jetsam. Sprinklings of gold dust among the chicken feed. But it is Thursday. Happy Thursday. Happy Thirsty Thursday. Up 79 dropped frames. I could probably reboot this thing fast enough to restart the YouTubes if they have to be. The thing about the premium stream is I can just restart it. I'm not going to obsess over it. This is not an episode, but we will be talking about things that only the cool kids are allowed to talk about. There's 7 people so far. That's awesome. So I'm going to ask this question several times tonight, Creepy Crawl. What did you mean when you said Alex Jones's parents were CIA? Can you elaborate in the slightest? I'm suddenly curious about that silly son of a bitch. Or anybody else who knows anything. Outstanding. We're going to see on the premium channel, I'm going to go through comments you guys have left, which are fascinating. We'll finally catch up on those a little bit. Plus the news. I can't wait to get it started. I need to change my avatar in the chat. Can I do that? Let's see. Can people do that? Can we choose our avatar? Settings. Is it in account settings? I should probably do that. Okay, that's not me. I'm not logged in as that guy. Okay. So the premium chat in the premium comments. Well, Anthony, what was his show like? Was it like mine? Did he go into depth? Or was it his original show was Call-In, just like Rush Limbaugh? He was Rush Limbaugh on steroids. That was his marketing, as I recall. I didn't pay any attention. He was obviously disinfoprop. What was his show like? Because he started his show right on practically the day after Collembined. But apparently he didn't say much about Collembined. Creepy Crawl put together a clip show or something we're going to watch on the premium channel. I didn't pay much attention to InfoWars. And the fiction of InfoWars was that they had a lot of reporters, right? And he was just one of them. But it was really just him. But InfoWars was so obviously fake. Hi, Nathan. His family? Well, okay. You can drop it in the premium chat if you prefer, but any information would be helpful. I didn't know if you were joking, if you were making fun of me by saying that. I didn't know. I'm just putting my toe into his, and it's more fascinating by the minute. So any information you have, drop that someplace. And on the premium channel, we'll watch the, on the premium stream, we will watch the little clip show that you sent. I just don't know anything about him. Really. I just never paid any attention. Right. He was on radio. That's probably where you heard him. He was on WJFK, right? He was on WJFK at Austin. And then he got on some other, that other company syndicated his show over the internet to several independent radio stations. That's just what I read. To quote, if I could paraphrase, I want to root for him. I like the movie. I like the movie about Howard Stern. I just don't like him. I don't like the guy. I like Robin. I want to interview her. You know, they met in college and they've worked together ever since. How did that broad know he was going to be... And without her, what is he? You know what I'm saying? But right, Anthony, when he was on radio, he got attention the same way when you watch the movie A Face in the Crowd. He gets the attention of sponsors by very effectively raising money for that woman, even though she was a black lady. He raised $10,000 for a black lady to rebuild her house after a fire, and she got 10 kids, husband dead, and no fire insurance. And so he raised that money. That's how he got the attention of sponsors. That was how, but it's funny that it was Waco, but he was just as overexcited about Waco as Timothy McVeigh was. I know he must have met Timothy McVeigh. Did he ever mention meeting Timothy McVeigh? Because Austin, Texas is only an hour from Waco. I mean, it's 120 miles. That's an hour in Texas, on Texas interstates. Hour and a half from Waco. You know, from his house. Let's say it was 2 hours. They said, you know, he was in high school when Waco happened. Oh, Anthony, I'm telling you, he was raised in it the exact same way that Tucker Carlson was. He's another Tucker Carlson. There's a whole generation of those kids. It's a hunch. It's a hunch, but he reminds me so much of, if Manny Grossman and Tucker Carlson had a baby, it would be Alex Jones. I just remember I just smelled a rat first day, but that was when I first got the idea for this show and my website was I could do what they do, but I could do it for real. It just took me a long time. So one of the things I knew I needed to do, because I wanted to do a call-in radio show like Rush Limbaugh and Alex Jones had, and Don Imus had, but I wanted to do it. I wanted to do this show, but I knew I needed to learn a lot still because I had to, or meet people, because look at InfoWars, look at Alex's first streams. He had professional help from day one. Day one. He didn't learn how to do all that himself. It took me 20 years to learn how to do everything myself. And I knew I needed more show business experience. Like I needed to perform in front of crowds so I could hear. Like, I don't know if you guys are laughing or groaning or farting. I don't know what you guys are doing. Emojis are great, but it's not the same thing as hearing people bust out laughing. It's not the same thing as an applause break. Okay? Hi, Gary. So my deal is I could do that, but I could do it better. And it just turned out that I worked with people and learned a lot, but nobody wanted to do my show. And I needed more time to get my research together because they were saying that eventually, see, there goes the thing. When we switch to the premium stream, I will deboot and reboot, okay? And it will cure this problem. I know part of the problem is I was messing around with the 5G yesterday, and it's trying to latch onto the 5G. I know that's what part of the problem is. I'm going to ignore it. This is a scratch episode anyway. So my deal was, he wasn't just that he was synthetic. He was synthetic disinfo prop. But see, I had not had a chance to read Chaos by Tom O'Neill yet because he hadn't had a chance to write it yet. But I remember somebody back in the 90s saying, rumor was going around, Manson was Chaos, he was COINTELPRO, blah, 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 blah. When those documents became available, that, well, this sounds like Manson. But Tom O'Neill proves it. So now I'm looking at Alex Jones and InfoWars again, but I don't really have time to look at it. But InfoWars was like a news site, and Alex had an audio stream, right? He had an audio stream you could subscribe to, and I was moving around all the time. Didn't have iPhones yet. I couldn't keep up with what he was doing. I just kind of kept an eye on him. So I could be that guy, but I could do it for real. I could do a real show about this stuff, like Mae Brussel. I could turn Mae Brussel into this video stream. I could do that. I knew that at the time. It took me 20 years to catch up. That's all. Putin called out Tucker. You see, I don't know what to believe about Tucker. I don't know what to believe about Putin. I don't know what to believe about Tucker's trip to Russia. I had these vague hopes he might go rogue and try to be more like me. Not necessarily that he knows about me, but he would try to be a little bit like me. But he would already be a celebrity and already have a following. He's obviously turning into something. Or he always has been. He always has been. Hi, Scott. Remember they tried to turn Megyn Kelly into that, and she's dumber than a box of rocks. Have you ever heard her podcast? I can't listen to it. She has no... Manny Grossman podcast circles around Megyn Kelly. I was shocked. I thought she had more skills than that. I thought she'd at least be good at podcasting. She stinks on ice. I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed to watch her. She's too old to do anything else. But then that's Oliver Stone, EV, and hello. Hi, Baby Bull. Hi, Channel. Alex Jones's mother is in Ayers, as in Bill Ayers. Okay, I will check into that. Thank you so much. Links are starting to bob to the surface, just like they did in those other cases. So maybe by Sunday I'll have more information for you guys. Now here's another thing. You guys can vote. If you don't want to talk about Collembined, this is mostly about Collembined, but that dragged up Alex Jones again, and I started thumbing through stuff, and I'm realizing, like, all of the money goes to the victims' families, and now he's claiming psychosis and all this other stuff, and I thought, yep, I was right, you assholes. 25 years ago, I told all you assholes, I said that guy is disinfo prop. It was just a hunch. It's just a hunch. Isn't Oliver Stone Catholic? Yeah, but if I had the time, I would go, instead of debunking Mae Brussel, I would just show you over and over and over again how many times she was on the right track. She was the first Kay Griggs. She was a trophy wife. She was Martha Stewart. You know, that's what Martha Stewart was, a model, right? Have you seen all of her old modeling? She was stunning. And I mean grace and poise. She was a high class, she modeled diamonds and furs and, yeah. But her husband, she married that guy. Oliver Stone is Jewish? But he named his son Sean. That's an Irish name. I think Oliver Stone's Nixon is probably an underrated movie. I think it captured Nixon. He's a tragic hero. He had all the virtues, but he had a tragic flaw. He was Jerry Seinfeld. He couldn't take any criticism. He just could go off on any criticism. He's Jewish. Yeah, I'm telling you, Alex Jones was raised to be Tucker Carlson. Charles Manson, whatever. He had no sponsors, wasn't selling any merchandise or supplement. Right. You've seen A Face in the Crowd, right, Anthony? You got to watch that movie. It was written by people in the industry. Though everybody in the movie was in the industry. The guy who plays the gay advertising executive who has the crush on Lonesome Rhodes and hooks him up to that deal, that big nationwide TV show, Mace. Remember him? He was played by an actual Hollywood producer from the 1920s. Sheriff Jeff Bess. Jeff Bess was a country songwriter and local singer, but his wife was Toots. Toots' Orchid Lounge, that's her husband. He plays Sheriff Jeff Bess. And under his real name, Jeff Bess. Everybody in that movie or had anything to do with that movie worked in the business. And that includes doing propaganda and working with CIA or whatever, OSS. That's right, Lee Remick is fantastic in that movie. What a great actress. Patricia Neal is in that. That's one of the greatest movies ever made. Every frame of that movie's perfect. Like it's the best directed movie, best acted movie, best shot. Look at the cinematography. The guy who wrote the book is the guy who whistles the opening theme. When you hear that opening theme, that was Lonesome's life right up until the moment when the movie starts, when her car pulls into the parking lot of the jailhouse. And it's an old jailhouse. That was his life up until the moment she pulled into that parking lot. That's what that whistling tune, that's the tune that's being whistled. That was his life. That's one of the best movies of any kind ever made. And it's 100%. And you get to see Andy Griffith do everything Andy Griffith could do. He's playing Charles Manson. He's playing everything a lot of people hoped Charles Manson would be Lonesome Rhodes. That's who Mel Lyman was supposed to be, Lonesome Rhodes. They were looking for another, the original Arkansas Traveler. It was loosely based on him, but the guy who wrote the novel said it was based on all the stories that Will Rogers Jr. told me about his dad. That's right. It's not a coincidence. You know, Anthony, people involved with the Mel Lyman family they moved west, and that includes Bobby Beausoleil. You know that, right? Bobby Beausoleil and Kenneth Anger both knew all the guys in the Mel Lyman cult. You know that, right? There was an operation going and waiting for Charlie when he got out of prison. He didn't start Jack. Charlie didn't start Jack. Charlie's not even the most important member of the Charles Manson family. No, Woody Guthrie, the guy who had the TV show, and he fired Julia LaRosa on the air live, and his ratings tanked after that. He was caught on a hot mic making fun of his audience, and he just tanked. He was really good. He was one of the first big TV stars. He had that variety show. He was the Johnny Carson before Johnny Carson. Well, you've seen my Manson episodes, right, Anthony? You've been around that long, right? He's not the most important member of the Manson family. He didn't think of Helter Skelter. That wasn't even his idea. Arthur Godfrey. Thanks, Anthony. Arthur Godfrey. There were people in Hollywood who were hoping Charlie could be the next Arthur Godfrey. There were people who were hoping Mel Lyman would be the next Arthur Godfrey. Or like an Arthur Godfrey, Woody Guthrie combined, a reality show. They were going to make a reality show about him. They were making a reality show about him. Like the first reality show was going to be about Charles Manson. Yeah, he was one of the candidates to do that. That's what I thought, Creepy Crawl. Yeah, his mom was Catholic, and he was raised Episcopalian, just like the Rothschilds, just like the Ramseys. These are crypto Jews who become Episcopalians. That's what my family were, crypto Jews. They're rolling over in their graves now, me telling people we're Jewish. Who was the most important Manson family member? Well, Merc, if you need to subscribe to the Stones Unturned podcast and find out. All questions are answered on the Stones Unturned podcast. I'm coming back around to Manson really quick. So I'll be doing new episodes. A lot of the episodes I was exploring the topic. So I just deleted all those, and now I'm going to come back around the circle again, and then we come right back to Zodiac, and then we come right back. But we got to do Madeline McCann, and we got to do JonBenet's Ramsey, because I'm going to get Melinda Kula agreed to come on. Hopefully she'll come on. If she doesn't come on, I'll do the episode without her. But she cracked more of that case than anybody, including herself, ever knew, and I haven't showed her yet. I haven't showed her any of this stuff yet. Bill Vance was the guy who taught. The real Bill Vance, the real cellmate of the guy who's in that video, not the guy who's people think is Bill Vance in the 1973 documentary. That is not Bill Vance. The real Bill Vance lived out at Slab City, and he's in that video. He attacks that guy, attacks those people in that parking lot at that Home Depot. That is the real Bill Vance. He's the one who turned Charlie on to all of that coyote stuff, those Native American lived in the desert. Bill Vance took all that really, really seriously. Bill Vance was the one who made parole the same day that Creepy Carpus did. And that was Christmas 1968 when Manson goes to Rosen's house and has this trip and all this crap happens. Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, whatever, 68. Bill Vance was there and told Charlie that this black revolution that was going to start taking place was about to happen. So they needed to get ready. That was Bill Vance. Bill Vance really was the guy who bossed Charlie around. It was all about Charlie's music career until Bill Vance made parole. Then Bill Vance, okay, we're going back to what I said we were going to do. That's when they turned into a hardcore criminal organization. That he's the one who leads the kids on creepy crawls. He's the one who gets the kids jobs in the strip clubs. That's Bill Vance. Charles Manson was not really interested in running a hardcore criminal family until Bill Vance made parole and caught back up with him. But the guy in that documentary, that is not Bill Vance. William Van Sickle, yeah, that's whatever. But the real Bill Vance, the real roommate of Charlie, who taught him all about this coyote stuff, the spirit of the coyote, and you got to get the fear. This guy really studied it. He'd gone down to Mexico. Charlie went to Mexico because Bill Vance told him to go down there and check it out when Cameron was living down there. I think Bill Vance is the hookup between Cameron and Charlie. Broke into the Iron Butterflies communal house. Yeah, Mark Rosen calls himself Aesop Aquarius. His real name is I've got his whole family. Rosenblatt, Rosen Heights or something. They're from Pittsburgh. They owned a department store. Just like the Mangans, just like Mae Brussels. What's her maiden name? Just like her family. She was an heiress, and Mark Rosen is an heir to an East Coast department store fortune. I think they're like next door to each other in Pittsburgh. Yeah. Yeah. Watch, but Manson is the shiny. Manson is the puppet. Manson is the thing that distracts your attention from who's really running the family and what the family's really about. Well, yeah, it was on Charlie's Angels. He had a, I'm sure they were. I'm sure they were. But Bill Vance really lives out at Slabs, and if he's still alive, he's tough as shoe leather. He lives out at Slab City. He lives that life that he was trying to get. That's the real. Helter Skelter was real. There were people already doing it. Charles Manson was just going to open another franchise of Helter Skelter. The most famous one is Slab City, but there's several of those places out in the desert. They're real. Fallout 4 is real. Go out in the Nevada desert and get lost. They'll eat you. It's real. There's people who live out there, who live just like it. They're living the movie out there, and he's one of them. How right or wrong was Maury Terry? Boy, you got a lot to catch up on. He was probably a dupe, not a duper, but he was fed a lot of false. And remember, Ted Gunderson was right there whispering in his ear. But I found concrete evidence that Maury Terry was basically right. This is the real thing. So we'll be coming back to that. We're only halfway through reading the original police department files and witness statements and everything. It's just like Zodiac. It's just like Manson. The actual police reports, the actual autopsy photos, they tell a very different story than what you've ever heard. The Manson family, the kids who were convicted, never killed anybody. All they did was tamper with the crime scenes afterwards. They never killed anybody. Every word of the prosecution's case against the 6 defendants who were convicted and sentenced to death, every word of that is debunked by the actual police department files, autopsy photos, and everything. Crime scene photographs. Every word of the case against those kids is debunked. That doesn't prove they're innocent, but they were definitely framed. Framed with lies. All lies. And the truth is, they didn't kill anybody. All they did was tamper with the crime scenes. And no, Charles Manson, it's like the myth of Hitler. Hitler hypnotized a whole nation. No, he didn't. He was very unpopular. Very unpopular. It was fear that kept people in line, not admiration for Hitler. Yeah, that's right. See, we have so much to discuss. So you guys need to get subscribed to the premium website. It's $9.99 a month. I'm going to head over there right now. We're going to continue talking about this stuff. If the stream has settled down, because when I'm over there, I can always restart the stream, but it shouldn't have to be restarted. So everybody get your bippies over to the premium site. We got a lot to talk about tonight. Yeah, the Lindners. Yeah, it's funny. I know a Lindner. I used to know a Lindner. God rest his soul. I knew a Guggenheim. Helter Skelter is a good book. It's pure fiction. You know it's pure fiction, right? You've read Chaos by Tom O'Neill, right? Tom O'Neill did a lot. He did so much. But there's a lot more he didn't know. Now, he's writing a follow-up book, and I'm hoping he's ripping me off relentlessly. I don't care. I don't own a copyright on the truth. Oh, Goodbye Helter Skelter? Oh, I haven't read that. Have you read Chaos? Goodbye Helter Skelter by George Stimson. Before we get off YouTube, let me look that up for people. George Stimson, Goodbye Helter Skelter. Revised edition. October 2019. Revised second edition. Goodbye Helter. The first realistic examination of Charles Manson Tate. Over 3 decades of research. By a long time associate of Manson? Okay, so we have questions already. See, I think this could be counter info prop to, because when did Tom O'Neill come out with his book? 2019? Like, it's like the real truth about Timothy McVeigh. George Stimson. Okay, I'll check that out when I get a chance. CharlesManson.com, of course. Of course, there's a CharlesManson.com. Yeah, it looks like it might be interesting. You got to be super duper careful about these memoirs of things that happened 50 years ago, let alone somebody who dropped acid with Charles Manson 150 times. You just got to really take this with a grain of salt. However, I will give it a chance. Simpson Sandy Good's husband. Yeah, the most diehard follower of Manson. But there might be useful information in there. Does he have documents? Is it just memories? Is it just stories people tell? Yeah, but what he was able to prove about, what O'Neill was able to prove, that he completely debunks the case that was presented to the jury. He completely debunks that, and he does a pretty good job of debunking Helter Skelter. What he didn't know was there's more than one project going on with the Manson family. The Manson family is like a super project. Everybody's got their fingers in the Manson family. Everybody. Nicholas Schreck's The Manson File. Have I read anything Nicholas Schreck wrote? Nicholas Schreck, The Manson File. All formats and editions. Is this how Schreck made his name? Was this book? I'm not paying money for it. I'll pay $10 for a Kindle, but that's about it. But proving that Manson and some other people involved were, like Jim Jones and all that other stuff. Chaos is. Charles Manson Superstar. Oh, it's on YouTube. Okay. Well, I can't play it. If you can see, I may have it uploaded on the premium channel. If you ever see Tom Snyder's interview, he gets in the cell with Manson and talks to him, and they're going at it. He calls bullshit on all of Manson's little tricks, and Manson runs out of tricks, and he doesn't know what to say. No one had ever called bullshit on Charlie's little debate tricks, but Tom Snyder did. And Charlie ran out of things to say. Oh, that's right. Shrek was married to LeVay's daughter. Okay, how would you compare The Manson File to The Family by Ed Sanders? See, all these books are written by all these people who knew Charlie personally. They used to wipe Charlie's ass, and everybody did. Now they all have a book. There's a lot of useful information in Ed Sanders, but there's a lot of bullshit. Yeah. But O'Neill came up with stuff that really proved it. And he was the one who, Evel Younger, really, Evel Younger. Okay, so let's head over to the premium site. Hey, Joey. Delphi and Idaho 4. Well, Joey, we're looking at Collembined as another Helter Skelter. But see, those guys wouldn't know. It's not like Sandy Good was briefed by FBI counterintelligence Operation Chaos. They wouldn't know. None of the kids knew what they were doing there, except the plants. Yeah, they wouldn't necessarily know what was going on. Even the ones who thought they knew what was going on only knew part of what was going on. Oh, the missing videos? Yeah, just little homemade orgy videos. That's how they met all those celebrities. Charlie was a pimp who supplied the party favors for the parties. Then you could join in. Guests could join in. That was Charlie wasn't the only one. There was a Charles Manson before Charles Manson. Yeah, Charlie was a Gotron robot made of the results from other projects. And he wasn't the most... It's just like Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler was not the most important member of the Nazi party, let alone the Nazi regime. Adolf Hitler was the sock puppet. Not a sock puppet, but Adolf Hitler was the show. Adolf Hitler was the trained SEAL. Adolf Hitler was the trained flea, just like Charles Manson, just like Jack Kennedy. But these are guys who were a little bit shrewder than their handlers had anticipated, and so they become dangerous. They start operating the machine on their own with their own ideas, and they have to be eliminated. Right, and to what extent is Sandy spook? But Collembined is the Manson COINTELPRO playbook line by line, as you shall see on the premium channel. Ed Begley Jr.? Ed Begley Jr. has a Manson story. It's possible because their job was to ingratiate themselves with the glitterati. and especially the kids of people like Ed Begley Sr. Their job was to rub elbows with those kids and compromise them as much as they possibly could, so they could be blackmailed into working for Uncle Sucker when their careers took off. If their careers, you can't wait for somebody to become a star and then, okay, we got to get something on this person, because they'll go back and they've already covered their tracks. You got to keep tabs on all the rising stars and all the rising producers' girlfriends. You have to keep tabs on all of them, and then you pick your shots. Well, EV, you need to subscribe, because sounds like we're just going to be talking about that for the next few weeks. From Jolly West comes from Wendy Painting's Aberration in the Heartland of the Real. And don't forget Dr. Donald Evan Cameron of Rochester, New York. Don't forget him. You know who he trained under. Aberration in the Heartland of the Real. The Secret Lives of Timothy McVeigh. And there's information in here about Jolly West. Are my eyes vibrating or is my screen vibrating? Maybe I better get going with the show. Oh, well, that's very interesting. That is very, very interesting. EV, I think you're really going to get your money's worth out of the premium channel. And speaking of, thank you, YouTube, very much. Yes, it is. Not only that, Merc, here's the deal. When you subscribe, there's a video you need to watch on how to subscribe, how to navigate the site, and how to find stuff. But you'll see a sample episode. It's got search inside the video. You can type in a word like Manson. It'll go to every point in the video where somebody says Manson. You can put in a person. So if I flash a picture or a video of Charles Manson, it will find that. You can put in an object like gun every time. So check that out. Check that out. And I don't break any laws. I don't dox anybody. I don't libel anybody. Everything is based on actual government documents, public records, old newspaper articles. You'll see. You'll see. I think you are the perfect person. You two are the perfect people. EV and Merc Boxcar. And there's a lot of episodes you could start binge watching. Are there 20 or 30 recent episodes you could binge watch? The titles are a little clever, but the show is, I'm a little clever, but this is deep stuff. And I totally plagiarize all of these people. I don't have any Nicholas Schreck stuff yet, but I know we've talked about things people say, yeah, Nicholas Schreck talked about that in his book. I've ripped off Tom O'Neill. I have ripped off a lot of people, okay? But I give credit, and it's fair use. I'll take a quote, or here's a lead, and then I dig deeper. What we do is, and I get a lot of help from the Buckaroos, is we go beyond what's been published so far. Does that make sense? And so check it out. You'll get your money's worth. It's $9.99 a month, unlimited access to the whole site. Or $99.99 a month. And see, I got my own private streaming server, so I don't break any laws. I don't do anything to get sued, to get anybody else sued. But, you know, YouTube, the tubes have ears, and there's certain topics you just can't talk about at all. It's kicked off YouTube. So get subscribed. Get subscribed. And if you want a real hardcore, this is how I do things. If you haven't read this book, you don't know anything about the so-called Zodiac Killer case, the myth of the Zodiac Killer. And all you know about that case is all the myths and legends, the actual police reports, what the witnesses really said, what the fingerprint reports actually found, what the ballistics actually found, tell a very different story. A very different story. And it turns out the whole Zodiac publicity campaign, the murders were real, but the motive, all that other stuff. You need to start with that book. Chapter 2 is the series on, I think it's still on Peacock, right? same title, Myth of the Zodiac Killer. That's like chapter 2. They followed up some stuff in the book. And then this podcast is like, because it turns out that the guy who, and I can prove this 6 ways for Sunday, the guy who actually wrote the Zodiac Killer letters, this guy, you read his military records, his academic records, his curriculum vitae, you're looking at a first-round draft pick of the CIA. And guess what? He had several friends in the CIA, famous ones. So you need to get subscribed. You all need to get subscribed. Well, thanks, Evie. Yeah, you saw the Peacock series? That's like chapter 2. Now, the rest of it will be on the podcast, okay? It scratched the surface. The book and the documentary scratched the surface. When you find out what was really going on. See, the connection was not between... It's just exactly like Son of Sam. Zodiac and Son of Sam they're chaos operations. They're COINTELPRO operations. They are. We have proven that in rough draft episodes, which I'll be remaking in the future. They are, this goes all the way back to the phony kidnapping of the Lindbergh baby. But Zodiac and Son of Sam, you have what appear to be random adolescent victims. They're like teenagers or early 20s. Like these are college-age victims, high school and college-age victims. Like pretty tight band. So you don't see any immediate they didn't go to the same high school. They don't work together. They don't seem to know each other. So it looks random. But in both cases, it turns out it's the parents who are connected like this in both of those cases. And when you know how the parents are connected, you see the motive for the murders and you see how it is very specifically chaos, COINTELPRO, even more serious than that. That's what we show on the Stones Unturned podcast. Nothing but government documents, nothing but, actual police reports. None of this rumors. Oh, I remember over on the grassy knoll. No, there's none of that on my show. None of that. None of that. So, get signed up. Yeah, good. Good. Drew Hurst Beeson has I'm sorry, but he has cracked D.B. Cooper. He has cracked D.B. Cooper. And it all fits in with, and even his Zodiac stuff fits in. See, Drew didn't know that. There's things Drew doesn't know about Zodiac that I haven't showed him. But I'm going to have him back on the show because he discovered a lot about Cheney and about Avery that it fits. It's mind-blowing, and it also fits right in with what I've already found out. But Drew didn't know that. I wasn't allowed to tell him. I've had to keep most of what I know a secret all these years. What you see on the documentary, what you see in the book, that's chapter 1 and chapter 2, and there's another 50 chapters to go. And it gets wilder and wilder and wilder. You've heard of the real Colonel Kurtz, right? Supposed to be Tony Poe, who is terribly important, but he's not the real Colonel Kurtz. The real Colonel Kurtz makes the movie Colonel Kurtz look like Florence Nightingale. Okay, so good night, YouTube. I'll see you again. We'll pregame again on Sunday for another premium stream, $9.99 a month. Rides, all access to the whole site. You'll get discounts on classes when I start teaching classes like in forgery and stuff like that. How to detect forgery. Let's put it that way. So thank you, YouTube. Stay plugged into the Stones Unturned podcast. Get plugged in to the full-blown members-only Stones Unturned podcast. Yeah, so like tonight's live stream, I'll record it, I'll upload it. It'll come out in its own post probably tomorrow morning. The evening episodes, it takes a while for the encoder to work. So the recorded version will be shown again. No, it would contain all of this stuff too. We'll see. Okay, so you probably won't see that but there are a lot of episodes. I just did a massive thing of all of this. It goes back to Christopher Columbus. we've mapped all that out. It goes back to the Opium Wars and all of that other. We've mapped all that out in previous episodes. I'm going to remake in the future. But we pretty much really start nailing it down with the phony kidnapping of the Lindbergh baby. So it seems to go on and on for a long time, but it's very important to know who those players are and what every player's up to. We see a pattern, and then you're going to see the most recent episodes I've just done about what all this, like, people who've recently been arrested in network news for trafficking in pizza made of cheese. Are you with me? We know a lot about that. We have proven that they're all connected, and this stuff is still going on. Those are the latest episodes. Those series aren't finished. But once you see the pattern, you will recognize the pattern over and over and over. This includes Manson, Zodiac, Patty Hearst, the Zebra Murders, Son of Sam, probably Dahmer. Dahmer has all these. There's more than one link in this stuff. And I'll mention it one more time before we get off YouTube. If you guys haven't seen The Confession Killer about Henry Lee Lucas, you don't know anything. And I'm gonna get Willis Morgan on here. He was a witness the day that Adam Walsh disappeared, and he saw Jeffrey Dahmer there, and he's not alone. A lot of people saw Jeffrey Dahmer, and a lot of kids. He tried to snatch several kids who got away. So, yeah, the Zebra Murders are the exact same cult as what is written about in the Zodiac Killer letters. It's the same exact cult from the Philippines, from Mindanao, from the real Colonel Kurtz. And these great detectives and Robert Graysmith never made the connection. It's the exact same cult. Okay, guys. Good night, YouTube. We'll see you over. I'll keep streaming over on the premium channel.